Hello, my name is Victor. I am a writer, a designer, a teacher, and sometimes people actually give me money to do those things. So I had this idea because in 2024 I started getting into the artist side of YouTube, and I found a lot of artist vlogs where they would do studio tours and order packing videos and artist alley vlogs, and at the end of them some of them would break down how much it cost to table and how much they made and the expenses and stuff. And I tried looking around for writers doing the same thing, and I didn't find any. And that frustrated me because I can watch someone sell stickers on Etsy for half an hour, but I'm not going to learn much from that because I don't really make stickers and sell them on Etsy. I write books and comics. So if no one's going to do it, I'm going to do it. So first of all, I do things besides writing and conventions and stuff. I am something of an art teacher. But that's not really something I keep track of, income and expenses and stuff. I don't have spreadsheets and whatnot. It's a normal taxed job. I signed the W-2. I go to a place. I teach kids how to do art, and I leave before they realize I have no idea what I'm doing. I also do graphic design work, and in 2024, I did no graphic design work. Yeah, usually how that works is whenever I feel like I need some extra money, I'll go on Twitter and post my portfolio and be like, who needs a logo design? And my friends will retweet it, and somebody will be like, I need a logo. And then I'll be like, what kind of logo do you want? And they'll tell me, and I'll make it, and then they'll give me a lot of money. And that always worked. And in 2024 that stopped working. I don't know, for one reason or another, Twitter kind of stopped working entirely. So my main thing is writing. I write comics and I write novellas and things like that. So let's first, before we get into expenses and income and stuff, let's look at exactly what we're dealing with, what books I have. So I have two novellas on Amazon. The first one is 30 Seconds or Less. This is about time-traveling pizza boys. And next up is Inferno. This is a space opera about a janitor. No, this is about a security guard. I should have made him a janitor. That would have been so much better. Now, my biggest source of income and expenses and stress is my professionally printed full-color comic books. I am just the writer. All of these are drawn by an artist named Mark, who lives in the UK. First up, we have Sapphire and Moonstone, which is about superheroes. This is Hero Booster. It's like a Power Ranger sort of thing. It's kind of like a big epic crossover finale, like an Avengers Endgame sort of thing. But we skip all the origin stories, all the setup. None of these characters are explained. They just show up, and it's just time for one big epic team up. And my newest book in 2024 was Space Bunny #1. This is something we've been working on for a very long time. We're very proud of it. It might be the best thing I've ever made, and it's about a stupid gay rabbit. I love it. Mark and I used to also make mini comics, little 8-page black and white things that I print on colored paper and sell for $1 or $2. We're kind of stopping with these and doing more focusing on full color stuff and longer stuff. But these are nice side things that are good for testing the waters. We did a Space Bunny one for a while, and I made so much money selling that we kind of had to do the full color version. But ultimately, we're kind of focusing on other things right now, but I still have these and I still sell them. That's basically it. I have a few other little zine type things and stickers and buttons here and there. And I did an anthology for Iron Circus. Yeah, so speaking of Iron Circus, I did a short for an anthology for them, and I had to sign a 1099 or whatever, and Iron Circus went and told the government that I'm a writer. So for 2023's tax season, I had to do this. I had to go dig around my records and look for how much money did I bring in and what did I spend, and I had to remember. I just didn't keep track of that stuff, so I was like, where do I have, what hotel receipts do I gotta get? What, did I save the receipt from that thing? What Amazon orders count? It was a whole thing. So going into the 2024 season, I made some very diligent spreadsheets, and I kept track of everything, and now I have the numbers, and I know how much money I made and how much money I spent, and let's look at them together, shall we? So one thing I always keep track of is whenever I order professionally printed comic books like Hero Booster and Space Bunny. So for those, I keep track of how much the print run cost to order, and then I divide that by how many copies I get, and figure out how much each copy is worth. And then I sell them all for $5, so I calculate that and how much money I could potentially make if I sell every single one and I make exactly $5 each, which never happens. And then I log every single sale, so I know who bought how many when. So I already have that data. That's easy to pull together. So in 2024, Sapphire and Moonstone made $76. That's surprisingly more than Hero Booster, which only made $71. These numbers are kind of low. But these books have been around for a while now, and most people who want them already have them. And I was mainly stuck in one market until I moved to Philly halfway through 2024. And then I haven't really done any cons since I got here, so that's kind of why those numbers are just kind of low. And the interesting thing with Hero Booster is it's inspired by Power Rangers in a lot of ways. And we thought that would do well for us because Power Rangers is popular with kids. But for some reason, Boom Studios just has never really tried to make a comic for kids. They made Ranger Academy, which is technically all ages, but it's the same thing, and there's no Power Rangers in it, so I don't know what their deal is with that. I don't know why they can't just make a cute, fun, graphic novel based on whatever the current season is. And I guess that's another thing. There is no current season because Power Rangers is over. After 30 seasons, 2024 was the first year to not have a brand new episode of Power Rangers, in any way. And I'm not saying that hurt our sales, but I work with kids and we talk about Power Rangers, and a lot of them do not have any idea what Power Rangers is. So we had other ideas for the Hero Booster universe, and I just don't know if those are just worth our time anymore, because we got some fans that we know are big Power Ranger fans. But most people just don't even know what it is, so I don't know if it's worth it. And with Space Bunny, I made $233.25. All these books sell for $5, but the reason the total income isn't divisible by 5 is because a lot of them just sell for cheaper at different places. They're on consignment at some places, and I only make so much percentage of that. Space Bunny is weird because I sold one to a person who paid cash, and they gave me a bunch of quarters. And I was like, that's fine, I need to do a lot of laundry tonight anyway. And I was doing laundry, and I could not get the quarter in the machine. It was just not accepting it. And I noticed it was a Canadian coin. So I texted the person, I know her. I texted the person who bought it, and I was like, did you go to Canada recently? And she was like, no. And I explained why. And she was like, oh, haha. And I was like, it's okay. I'm gonna log this sale as $4.75. It'll make the math funnier. And here I am a year later, and it's kind of funny. So yeah, obviously Space Bunny blew the other books out of the water. I made more than both of them combined. Probably not as much as I was expecting. There were a lot of factors into that. We did do a signing in the town where Space Bunny was kind of born. Space Bunny was a joke idea that me and Mark had, and I started working with kids, and I would draw Space Bunny, and they'd be like, who's Space Bunny? And I'd be like, it's just a character, I don't know. And he just kept asking questions, and I'm like, we have to make this comic. So I kind of fostered a fan base in my town, and then we did a signing, and I thought it would do well, and when we woke up, it looked like a Christmas card outside. There was so much snow. It was the first real snowfall we'd had in ages. And I think there's a birthday party going on that day or something, but most of the kids I know did not make it that day, and that affected things. I did sell later to a lot of them, but then I moved right after the big con in Pittsburgh, and that con, 2024 was just not a good year for cons in general. Obviously $230 is not gonna pay my rent, but it almost paid for the print run, so that's good. Speaking of conventions, I also have a separate spreadsheet where I keep track of con sales and everything. In 2024, I made $81 at conventions. That does not include professionally printed comics that we just discussed. Because if I just went off of the spreadsheet here, I'd be reporting Space Bunny numbers twice. So not including Space Bunny sales, most of which were at conventions. I made $81 at conventions this year, which is really not a lot, because even if you take out Hero Booster sales from my first year doing cons, I made almost $1,000. So because we moved at the beginning of the summer, we basically only got one con in this year, so I didn't really get to do the big ones that usually make a lot of money. So on my spreadsheet, I have that I did Three Rivers Comic Con in Pittsburgh right before we moved, And then I did a film festival that wanted artist vendors out there. I don't know, it was like 25 bucks. I made money. Huh? And I also did a zine fair in Philly, and this was like the week after the election. And I was like not in the mood, so I just kind of sat there and waited until we could go home. It was only like $25, and I don't think I made $25 in sales that day. So, you know, not a good year for cons for anyone. I have some books on consignment at a few different shops around the area. Now, most of these shops are just selling Space Bunny Hero Booster, the things we've already talked about. But there's one shop that sells my zines and my mini comics, and I only make 90 cents on the dollar for each sale there, which is a pretty good deal for a consignment shop. So at that store, for other zines and stuff, I made $19.80. Kind of the same problem. A lot of it is books that everyone already has if they want them. Like it's a shop in a small town. And if you want a copy of one of my mini comics, you probably have it already by now. We're taking a break from making new ones, so I don't have anything new to leave there. So they're just kind of just there for just like tourists who pass through and stuff at this point. I have a Ko-fi store, which I usually use to sell, again, the professionally printed comics that we already talked about. But I do have other things on there and some digital things, so there's a few other dollars trickle in from that. And so I made $15 from Ko-fi, not counting things like Space Bunny and such. And then I have a section called miscellaneous sales. We used to live in a small town, so sometimes if I would post on Facebook like, hey, I have a new book out, click here to order it. But if you live in my small town, DM me and I'll leave it on your porch and you don't gotta pay shipping. So from that, I made $20 leaving books on people's porches. So as I mentioned, I have 2 books through Amazon, and a lot of people talk about Amazon these days and how it's like a good passive income. You just upload a PDF and the money trickles in. From every sale of 30 seconds or less and Inferno on Amazon, I made $2.84. That does not mean those books don't sell. They do sell. I make a lot of money off of them. I actually raised the prices this year from, they used to be $7, now they're just a flat 10. I just thought it'd be easier now that I'm like pulling back on the mini comics that are like $1 or $2. If everything was either $5 or $10, it would just be easier. And I was right, it was easier at conventions where I sell these books. Amazon, you get a free ISBN and you can order cheap copies delivered right to you, and you can sell them at events and stuff. But unless you're playing some Amazon algorithm game, you're not really gonna make money off of these. So people who think Amazon is like a passive income or a side hustle, no, it's a full hustle. I have sold like 100 copies of 30 seconds or less, and 97 of them I sold by like getting them in front of people and saying, buy this book. Amazon itself is not going to make you money. I also did a anthology back in 2019. A lot of creators start out by doing anthologies, and it's a great way to just kind of get your name out there, meet people, learn the craft, and like maybe make money sometimes. And for whatever reason, one anthology gives me royalties, so I get like a little bit of money every year. And so in 2024, I made $1.01 in royalties from just other stuff. Yeah. So in total, convention sales, book sales at stores, royalties, walking up to people's houses, in 2024, I made $519.90. Yeah, not a good year. Like I've said, I've been to one convention before where I made like twice that. 2024 was just not a good year for a lot of people. Not very good for me. I moved in the middle of it. It was difficult. It was a rough year for a lot of people. But just because I made almost a little over $500 doesn't mean I gained $500 in 2024. Now comes the fun part. Let's look at how much money I spent to be a writer in 2024. So here's the secret about time. We made it up, and it doesn't always like work the way we want it to. For example, my biggest moneymaker in 2024 was Space Bunny. Did I pay off the print run? That's kind of a weird question because I paid for it in 2023. And so a lot of the expenses I'm about to go over that I paid in 2024 were for 2025 things. For example, the first category is event fees. Event fees basically is paying to go to an event, buying the table, that kind of thing. But I'm also including parking here and any hotels and travel costs. I did not hotel or travel costs at any point. So those aren't logged here this year, but next year they might be, you know? So in 2024, event fees were $457.52. That's a lot, but 369 of those dollars was I signed up for Fan Expo Philly for 2025. So that's again an expense I paid in 2024 that really won't pay off until 2025, which is now. But I just, I booked it and I paid the fee in 2024. So it's an expense, but it technically won't, Also at conventions, I have started keeping track of receipts for any food I get. This includes lunch when you're there at the table, any snacks you buy ahead of time or during, and dinner on the day of, because that counts. I've talked to other people, and that counts, So on top of the other event fees, I paid $102.94 in food at conventions, and this includes I cover the cost of any assistants that I have helping me that day. Merchandise. This is when I buy things that I sell, or I get them professionally printed or ordered. I do make a lot of things myself. Not so much like stickers and art. I do make stickers and art prints myself, but they're not a big part of my income. But it's very rare that I have to order like merchandise. Usually this section includes professionally printed comics and stuff. But again, the only new book I had this year was Space Bunny #1, and I ordered that in 2023. So in total for merchandise this year, I spent $37.99. That mainly means I bought one sticker from a printer for like $25, and then I have a new book coming out, an Amazon book, and I ordered 2 proof copies to go through and correct and stuff. Yeah, probably this year I'm going to spend a little more because I have a new comic coming out, and that book I'm going to need to order copies of probably, and it's going to be a lot, Shipping. I sell orders online. In theory, I spent a lot of money on shipping stuff this year, and I feel like I did not get enough sales to really justify that. But it is what it is, and sometimes you buy things ahead of time, especially now that Amazon 2-day shipping is just gone. It's just, if you need something, you gotta go to a store and get it, or you can get it on Amazon, but you gotta wait I don't know, guys. I'm recording this on July 10th, and one of those proofs for my new Amazon book I ordered before New Year's Eve, and I still don't have it. What the hell? So, I didn't want to not buy new bubble mailers until I needed them, because if somebody places an order, I gotta pack it, and if I have to wait 2 to 15 days, I don't know, to get my bubble mailers, So I buy some stuff, and I have them on hand. I don't have a whole warehouse full of shipping boxes, I have some. So shipping supplies 2024, I spent $369.11. So this includes bubble mailers, boxes, envelopes for stamped mail. This also includes postage, so if you buy an order and you pay $5 for shipping, I spend those $5 at the post office to, buy the label and stuff. The big expense this year was I spent $222 on a P.O. box. Mainly I'm trying to go all in on the small business writer guy thing now. And so I didn't want to just put my personal address on return labels, especially if a stranger is ordering the book. A lot of the stuff I sell is to friends and stuff. But some random people do buy my books, and I don't want them having my address, Here's a fun thing. Envelopes. I send out a lot of stamped mail, and I keep track of how many stamps I bought. I keep the receipts, obviously. But I also, for whatever reason, keep track of how many stamps I bought with those receipts. And I thought it would be worthwhile to keep track of how many stamps I bought. And then I have a separate spreadsheet that is just how many stamps I actually use. Like a psychopath, I put a card together and I put a stamp on it, and then I go on the spreadsheet and I'm 1 stamp used. The main reason I do a lot of stamped mail is because when I left Pittsburgh, I created a sort of kids club for Comics Clubhouse, our publishing company. It's mostly kids from Pittsburgh that I used to work with as a way to keep in touch with them, but some other random kids have been added to it here and there. The main thing I send out is a magazine, an old school style kids club magazine. So there's like articles in it, like there's the origin of Space Bunny. There's also like puzzles and games in it, which was a lot of fun to make. And of course, there's comics. So we're kind of channeling like that Nickelodeon magazine energy with this. It's just a fun little thing, but to ship one of these in an envelope actually costs 2 stamps. And then I also send out throughout the year like holiday cards, like around Halloween and the winters. I'll send the winter holidays. You know what I mean. I also send an art print to each individual kid on their birthday. Just as like a fun thing. Brand awareness, I guess. I haven't seen a lot of these parents in over 6 months. So regularly sending out these things and kind of staying in their awareness, especially with the kids. I think it's nice to get something in the mail, especially on their birthday. And so I kept track. I bought 94 stamps in 2024, and I only used 52 stamps. So I know what you're thinking. Does that mean I don't need to buy as many stamps if I know in general how many stamps I'm going to use? And the answer is not really no, because I didn't start sending out Kids Club stuff until August, and a lot of the kids' birthdays and stuff are in like February, March, spring, and we might, depending on how things go, we might send out 2 magazines this year, so that's going to be a lot of stamps. And we're also going to send a physical catalog to comic book stores, and I have a list of shops I'm going to send them to, and that's over like 60 already. So no, I'm going to need to buy a lot more stamps. I really want to stock up on the Dungeons & Dragons ones because they're like just the coolest stamps ever, and I was trying to stock up on the Year of the Rabbit stamps because Space Bunny, and I think those like got sold out. Like I saw them at the post office and I had this idea and I went back 2 days later and they were gone. The next category is like digital things. I spent $195.13, and this is on things like domain renewals and hosting and stuff. The hosting provider I use, actually I used to do every 3 years and I got a much better deal. But because we had the move coming up, like it snuck up on us, and so we were like, okay, let's only pay for 1 year, and then next year I'll pay for 3. So this would probably be a bigger expense next year when I'm paying for 3 years in advance. So for just the hosting for 1 year and the 2 domain renewals, it was only like $200, so that's fine. And lastly, I spent $171.84 on just kind of general art supplies, things that I use to like print out art prints and the magazine, cardstock, toner for my printer, ink for my other printer. I have 2 printers. They're different kinds of printers. I bought a new tablecloth that is Comics Clubhouse Green, but I'm not going to use it until 2025. So again, it's one of those things that I spent now. It's going to pay off later. These are just a lot of little things that add up over time, and some of them will last me for a while, and some I've already used up, so it's just a little thing. So total expenses for 2024 were $1,334.53. Yeah, so compare that to whatever I said the income was. This was not a very profitable year as a writer. And that's a lot of just little big issues in the way, social media marketing just doesn't work anymore. Like, I used to be able to just post anything on Instagram with just a basic description and appropriate hashtags, and it would get like 100 likes, and sometimes that would turn into a sale. And now doing the exact same thing, no, nothing. The only people who like the Comics Clubhouse posts are like me and Mark, and like one other random person usually. So yeah, that's difficult. Another big issue I feel is that a lot of my books are like for kids, and kids are online. Kids don't really go to comic shops. Kids do come to conventions, and that's where I make a lot of my sales. And I think I just need to replan the way I market my books, because I really just need to hit like moms on Facebook and not, my friends on Twitter. I don't use Twitter anymore. Twitter's dead. Twitter doesn't work. And then, there's the other issues, like I moved in the middle of the year. I was very depressed, and just a lot of other things happened. I was working kind of full-time over the summer. Space Bunny is new, but a lot of other things are still kind of not stale, especially because I moved to a new city. I figure I have a new market to explore. Maybe everyone in Pittsburgh has Hero Booster, but as far as I can tell, 4 people in Philly have Hero Booster, so hopefully that'll change. But in 2025, I am going to kind of focus and like really try to make this my job and hopefully have, uh, if not a net $1 profit, at least enough to kind of justify and keep doing this, because it's really disheartening to buy even a pack of like 6 bubble mailers and not get any orders for like months and just have these bubble mailers. It's hard to order 100 copies of Space Bunny, and because of a printer snafu, I have like 150 copies left, don't ask. But yeah, I have to store all these things in my apartment, and they don't take up a lot of space, but they're just like sitting there wanting me to sell them to people. And I really don't know how to do that anymore. I used to work in marketing. I briefly tried starting my own comic book marketing company. And now, if you asked me, I'd say, I don't know. I don't know how to sell comics in 2025. I don't think anyone does. I don't know. Nothing works. Social media is broken. Yeah, so I don't know. It's going to be a tough year, but I am motivated to not give up because I don't want to go back to a desk job. I don't want to work at Jimmy John's again. I want to make this my job, and I think I can do that. So links in the description if you want to buy my books, please.